Hello everyone and welcome to an episode of Xmas Gaming Podcast. That's right, because it is the season to be jolly. We're recording this on Christmas Eve 2017. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and join with me as always, my wonderful little helper, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Oh, ho, 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 everyone. I hope you're having a good holiday, a good weekend, or whatever day you may be listening to this on. I don't know if this is the first time we've done a Christmas Eve show. I want to say sometime a while back we might have done one before, but it's kind of cool. We planned a little bit earlier in the week and lots of things with both of us for work, and I thought it'd be kind of cool anyway to do it even closer to Christmas, and we kind of pushed it towards the weekend, and then Saturday didn't work, but hey, we were both free today, even though I did go to work for a little bit this morning. I volunteered, but they didn't really need me, so I was there about 5 minutes. And I just turned around and went back home, which I had no problem on. Weren't mad about it, so decided to go ahead and do the show a little bit earlier in the morning. And for us, it's a nice day, as we talk about the weather sometimes. It was a little cool compared to the 70 it was yesterday. Just kind of feels like a nice, almost kind of winter day with the 21st, it being the first day of winter. I'm sure, we'll get blasted very soon. So I'm just kind of enjoying not really having a bitter cold or, snow or anything. It's just kind of nice. You could hang out. See, hell, you could grill out if you really wanted to for Christmas, So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's totally different. I mean, like, you and I live 2 hours away from each other, and it's actually been raining all day over here. It still feels really good outside, and I like rainy days. So, before we started recording the show, I actually, went outside and had, a cup of coffee and smoked a cigarette, and I'm like, it's the season, So that was really cool. I got a little bit of gaming news, not a whole lot. One story I wanted to share, because it is Christmas, and I saw this story pop up online, and I'm like, man, this would be really cool to share. And it's about a 9-year-old who gives up his Xbox One to buy blankets for the homeless. Okay, now, what happened is this happened in Ashland County, Ohio. His name was Micah, and he was the grandmother, and him and his grandmother, went out, and he decided to sell his Xbox One, which is like $300, and bought $10 worth of blankets, like 30 blankets, and it was just a really touching story. And then you find out that the reason why he did this is because at one time him and his family was homeless, and he remembered getting those blankets. And when you go to a homeless shelter and you get blankets, when they're done, they take them away, and he was like, sometimes he felt like he was kind of connected to those blankets, like they were kind of like a security thing. So he decided he wanted to do this to kind of give people that little bit of security that he wanted. And Microsoft found out. They ended up giving him a new Xbox One Slim, and a really, really cool Christmas story. Really, really cool.
That is nice. It usually does pay. A lot of times when companies hear about things like that and you got a kid and, they're not doing it to get anything out of it. Like you said, he experienced having that. You have some kids that just really are giving and would give up. And I mean, that's really what the season is about. How some people like giving gifts even better than getting them. And, do that. I can't even imagine what it would be like, to be homeless, or especially having something like a blanket as it gets colder and, colder. I currently have a friend. I mean, I think he has a place to stay. He'd moved away from here just, his mom had got sick, and he had to leave. And, I've kind of been helping him out, with some money, which is always good. He's kind of been bouncing around from here to there. But, that kid, anytime, it's just great, if you can help anybody out, especially around this time, it'd just be nice, because everybody kind of deserves, to get a little something. And just as a kid with a good heart, that I'm sure will continue, to do things like this. And you kind of, you get it back in return. He still ended up with his Xbox, and he helped out a lot of people.
Yeah, that was, I saw that story, and I'm like, I got to share this on the podcast, because, it kind of makes me think of, I think it was last year when they had this kid that would always come into Best Buy and play the Wii U, and he played it all the time. And it was obviously because he really liked playing the Wii U, and his parents probably couldn't afford one. And the folks at Best Buy ended up giving him a Wii U for Christmas. like little stuff like that. I'm like, man, that is really awesome. And I know there's a couple of YouTubers out there that do some of the toy drives and the gaming charities, and that's pretty awesome. One thing I would love to do myself, I was thinking about this the other day, and maybe next Christmas, this would be a lot of fun. I was wanting to find a way to get like maybe a couple of Raspberry Pis, like get a couple of them, and donate them to like a children's hospital. Like, wouldn't that be freaking awesome? Like, the kids get like this awesome Raspberry Pi. They can play like any old school game they want, and enjoy it through really, really hard times. That'd be just really, really cool.
Yeah, that could be something to see, some way. I know we have a good friend that does make those, and maybe we can get in contact with him and see about getting something going on. It's just very cool. I had a lady at work. She had a family she helped out, and she told me about the kid. He'd had a 360. This was a few years ago. And, he was just happy to get any kind of games because she'd asked me about them. So, I just went through mine and, grabbed a couple I didn't play and gave them to her to give to him because, it's just, so many of us have so many games that, we just don't touch. Honestly, we're never going to play. And,
Yeah.
if you can give it to a kid that doesn't have a lot, I'd like to, do that again, just go through mine and, that'd just be so much better instead of them just sitting here taking up space or either getting, half a penny, trading them in. You could give them to somebody who would actually really appreciate them. And it's just, so many good things you can do for people. And it's just, hey, when you can, why not?
Indeed, indeed. And the next little bit of news I wanted to talk about, and I thought this would be really cool to mention. Nintendo Power is back, okay? And it's an official thing. It's officially from Nintendo, but it's not the Nintendo Power that we remember. It's not a Nintendo Power magazine. And no, it's not an eShop magazine or something you would download on your tablet. It's actually a Nintendo Power podcast. And I thought this was really cool. It's actually officially by Nintendo. It's not just some people that got together and like, oh, let's make a Nintendo Power podcast. Which makes this really interesting is it's hosted by the editor-in-chief of Nintendo Power of Nintendo of America, and he's done some things in the past with Nintendo Power back in the 90s and whatnot, and he does a little show and he has some special guests, including some of the producers of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's on there, different developers and publishers. Right now it's in the very early stages, and they made a point to say that, which doesn't surprise me. Every podcast, when it starts out, it's in early stages. But if you guys want to check it out, it is on the iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and it's also coming soon to Google Play Music, which I need to look into XSgaming going on Google Play Music, to be honest. But yeah, I thought that was really cool that we have an official Nintendo podcast now.
That's one I'm gonna check out for sure. Very cool. They did that. It'd be nice to get some information straight from the source and people at work there. Right now, usually I like the Nintendo voice chat, which is put out by IGN, and they have a show. It's about 4 guys on there, and they go to a lot of the conventions and things like that. And I enjoy their show. They put out one every week. It's just right about an hour or less, and usually hear a lot of good information from them. So they're one to check out too. But an official N+2 with just the name. I was thinking it was going to be a magazine at first. I was like, man, I wonder if they're going to send out little gold Switch cartridges or something, or Dragon Warrior on the Switch if you sign up.
Yeah, that's why I was holding it back, because I was like, oh, Nintendo's Power is back, and everyone's like, oh, magazines? Oh man, wow. I'm like, no, it's a podcast. But, oh, okay, that's just as awesome. But yeah, that was really cool. Also, Retrobit, which I think this would be a good segue to something that you can mention, James. But Retrobit has been really on the ball with retro stuff, so much so that they're actually going to be making accessories for the Sega Dreamcast and the Sega Saturn, which I'm really excited about. I mean, they're talking about making, maybe like controllers, maybe they make like new like cables or something like that. There's different stuff and possibilities they could be cooking up, and I think it's really cool because I would love to have a new Dreamcast or Sega Saturn arcade stick, because not so much the Sega Saturn, but the Dreamcast arcade stick, like the official one, is so much money, man. It's like $150 on eBay. And I think the lowest I've seen is maybe $80, and I don't even like spending $80 on a brand new controller if I don't have to. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine getting something that's kind of novelty like the arcade stick. But that was really cool. Also, they are working on official, they're officially licensed NES and Super NES games. They're kind of like doing the remastered thing where they're releasing these cartridges back on old consoles. And they look very different than your normal NES or Super NES cartridge. They're like black and they have like red trim. But, you know, a couple of games they're doing is stuff with Data East and IRIM and a lot of stuff that we saw with the Retrocade or the Super Retrocade is what they're doing with the Retrobit cartridges. But I thought that would be a good segue to talk about something that you got recently, James, and we could talk about that before the break.
Yeah, recently, as we're saying, you know, Retrobit, they put out a new plug-and-play system called the Super Retrocade. I'd heard about it being in the works. You know, they had the one last year, Retrobit Generations, came out around September. I'd actually bought one of those, and I don't ever think I even mentioned it on the show, just because it was kind of disappointing. I felt I was led to believe that it was going to be a good amount of arcade games on the Generations, and when I got it, it had 2 or 3 arcade games, one being Ghosts and Goblins, and the other 2 just being something I didn't really care to play, and all the rest was console games, and it was all stuff I had. You know, some other people would complain about the emulation. For me, it was just something really unnecessary. On the one hand, I did really like the controllers. They kind of felt a little bit more like the 6-button Genesis. You know, just a good feel. Really, that was one of the pluses to it. So the Retrocade was coming out. I happened to see RGT85. Sean did a little review on it. And I like the fact he didn't mention, you know, every game. He just played a little bit of it. Seemed like he enjoyed it, and these are things I do like to get. And I said, hey, Christmas is coming. I went on Amazon. It's $60. You know, some people that might, you know, be too much. Hey, this is stuff, you know, if you're real good with the emulation, you can pull it all up. That's true. But if you just want to buy something, these are very neat. You know, I think even a gift for somebody. It's a little white system. You know, I like the look of it. I like the way the controllers looked. And when you play with them at first, and these are different, you can use any kind of USB. I might try one of the old ones on it. It's kind of a little bit longer looking controller, but when you play it for a little bit, I don't know, it's something that it starts to get a tad bit uncomfortable. At first, like I said, it feels good, and it just as you play, I don't know if it's how there's something on the bottom, if it's necessarily the shape. It's not horrible. I mean, you know, I've used worse. I didn't rush out to switch it out, but definitely going to use a different one on it. And, you know, just to read off, you know, a few of the games on here, because it has 90 games. I'd say close to 50-something are arcade, with the rest being console. And, you know, a lot of Capcom, Data East, IRIM, and who they had before, you know, deals with. But they have Technos on here now, too. So, you know, we get Double Dragon 3, Renegade, Super Dodgeball, The Combat Tribes, which actually was a arcade game I liked. It's like super slow and just weird looking, but I enjoy it. You know, 1942, 10-Yard Fight, 43, Blade Master. You know, 2 versions of Strider, the NES and the arcade. There's one on here I saw Sean play called Mutant Fighter. That looks like a really cool kind of like monster wrestling game. And another one I enjoyed a lot was a game called Kendo, just kind of a little samurai game put up by IRIM. Never played it. Very fun. But I really just enjoy sitting there and trying out different stuff. You can use a filter, you know, if you want to see just the arcade stuff, or if you want to, you know, do the consoles or certain companies. And another cool thing with it is let's see, the hell was I going with that?
Well, I was gonna say you can also they've already figured out a way you can add your own ROMs to it too, with the SD card.
Yeah, definitely it's a slot for that. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I like the fact too it still has AV cables. You can do HDMI or AV, because lots of times, you know, we have game systems, Blu-rays, and I only have 2 plugs on the back of my TV, and I don't really like to switch. I have open AVs right now, so I just use that to plug in. I mean, it might have a little bit, less definition to it, but to me, it still looked pretty
adds
good.
to it, though.
You're playing old games,
Yeah.
anyway. How great are they going to end up looking? Overall, though, like I said, I've had a real good time with it over the next day or so. I'm going to go through and play a lot more, see if I can force my wife to maybe play some Double Dragon or something like that. But just like I said, good selection. I was very satisfied, like I said, with the amount of arcade games, over half this time. So this is just a good way to play a lot of games you either, had played in the arcade many years ago, never tried. Good selection of, like I didn't mention on the consoles, but, your fighters' histories, Final Fight 2 and 3. Sometimes you got the NES versions like Bad Dudes, Bionic Commando, and on, the other side you have the arcade version, so you can try them out. You even got Mega Man 2 and 3, really good ones. Hey, Final Fight, Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight. Everybody loves that one. But just like I said, it's fun. You can probably wait around, and I'm sure, they might drop in price after a little bit. This one is definitely a huge step up from the last one, so definitely steer clear of the Retrobit generations. Unless you just know somebody, I'm sure those are really cheap. If you have a kid, might want to play with it. But Super Retrocade, like I said, you're looking for old arcade stuff and some good consoles all in one package. Is real small. Like I said, you can use any controllers, save states. It's got all the typical stuff. But it really fun to me. I've enjoyed having it. So keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, I have to admit, I have the Raspberry Pi. I use my Raspberry Pi for all my retro stuff, and then I have the Ouya I use for arcade and some of the more CD-based stuff like Sega CD, TurboGrafx CD, and then I have my modded Wii U that I play, Wii U ISOs, I play Wii and GameCube. So, I have a lot of the emulation kind of covered, but I still feel like I kind of want to try out the Super Retrocade just because of those AV cables. And the reason why I say that is because I have a really nice CRT television that I found on the side of the road. It's got component cables. It's really, really sharp. Looks great. And I was like, I would love to get this and kind of play some of the games with a CRT. Because, the games aren't going to look as good on a CRT, but to me, it's going to look more like you're playing the legit deal. Because, let's face it, emulation, when you put in those scan lines, that scan line filter, it looks like crap. It looks terrible. It does not, it's like, why would you want to do that on a HD television? I'd rather just play it on a CRT and have those natural scan lines and, I'm wondering how it looks like from the AV side to the HDMI. I know the Neo Geo X Gold, when I used to have that, I remember you could use HDMI or AV, and I tried AV because I was like, oh, it's Neo Geo. I want to play it on my tube television. I remember it didn't look too good. So I'm hoping the Retrocade looks really, really good with the AV, I hope it's not too dark.
I've only tried it on my, my flat screen TV, but everything to me on that looked okay. And I have a CRT too, also that I found on the road. It was a really hot place to find CRT TVs for a while. I know now, especially for retro gaming, they've become a little bit more of a hotter item. Where some people, if they know, would be more likely to try to sell one. Whereas, a few years ago, dude, you could hardly give those away.
Oh yeah, I remember I was on an Uber ride one time. And I was my driver. We were going by, and I'm the kind of person when I see a CRT on the side of the road, I always kind of take a double take, just because I'm always like, ooh, a CRT. And she saw it, and she was like, oh, look at that TV over there. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. I bet it's got S video and component. And she's like, oh no. She was like, me and my friends, we like to get all those CRTs, and we like to go CRT bowling. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, we just get all the TVs and we throw bowling balls at it. And I'm like, oh. I felt gutted. I'm like, you bitch.
It's like, you could be selling those, right?
Yeah, I know. I was telling her, I was like, a lot of retro gamers and, VHS collectors, they like to have CRTs. I think CRT televisions are awesome. They're heavy as shit, but they're awesome. I like them. So that kind of gutted me a little bit when she said that.
Yeah, you get one, you find a decent, I think I had a 23-inch. Was the one I found, and the guy just sat them out, and I think I'd got that. It was on my route at work, and I think I asked the guy. That's one thing cool driving around. You can, sometimes see yard sale stuff, or if people's giving something away, And they either had a sign that said they work, or I asked him, and he was like, "Yeah, they work. Just clearing up space. Don't need them." Had the remote and everything.
wow.
They really just sat them out for somebody, hoping they'd take it. And I've got a lot of use out of it. I really it's my main one. I have all my old systems hooked up to, and still a lot of them have a really, like you said, really good screen. Some of them have like the true flat. One of my older ones I had, it was kind of a flat screen TV for a CRT, but just a really good picture. Some are crappy and old, and you get other certain brands that you can find, ones you think that used to cost a couple $100, or now people might pay you to take back then, and then now they've gone back up. So just very interesting to see. Old things always become new and wanted again.
Oh yeah, that new generation's always wanting to tap into the old stuff. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I mean, of course, like I said, I mean, when you're playing like an NES or you're playing a Genesis, I mean, unless you have a FrameMeister, you got to play it on a CRT. Because I mean, I've talked to many people when they talk about HD televisions, they're like, "Oh, I don't have any input lag." No, there's no input lag. This thing runs fine. And then they get a CRT and they play it, and they're like, "Holy shit, that thing did have a lot of input lag. I had no idea." And it's very minimal. Because even with my HD television, when I'm playing retro stuff, when I used to play it on there, it was very minimal. It was like one of those things that I was like, did that just delay a little bit? No, that's not delayed. And I would sit there and check. I'm like, holy shit. I thought I was just really bad at games, but it's got that microsecond delay when you're playing a game like Mario that just irritates the piss out of me.
I'm one of the ones, I had my TurboGrafx hooked up to like my 60-inch TV, and I know one time I was talking about that, somebody's like, but you're getting a lot of lag. I'm like, dude, it plays kind of fine. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. They're getting all like elitist laggy with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I mean, I don't know. Like most of the games I played on TurboGrafx, I'm not very good at anyway. So whether it has lag or not, I'm probably gonna die. But I just thought it was funny to play a TurboGrafx on a big giant TV.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to be celebrating some Christmas. I mean, we're going to be talking about some video games, of course, but we're going to dive into some more things, like some movies, some of our favorite candy, some of our favorite memories. I just thought this would be a really nice holiday treat for all you guys. So sit back, relax, let's listen to some video game Christmas music, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys, and that was some Chocobo Christmas music from Final Fantasy. I found this album, I want to say about 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, this like Squaresoft Christmas album where they took a lot of JRPGs and they remixed them into Christmas music. It's freaking amazing. But yeah, I mean, it is, Christmas Eve, so we decided we're going to talk about some Christmas stuff. And before we get into like Christmas memories and stuff like that, I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of have a, talk about some of our favorite Christmas movies. I actually got a really good story with that. But first I want to throw it off to you, James. What's a movie that when you think of Christmas, that movie pops in your head?
For me, along the lines of, as they say, we'll do, movies, shows, Christmas specials, I will throw out one that I usually watch every year. A lot of people are very fond of it. And back when I was a kid, it only came out on HBO. And it was a Jim Henson production called Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Very cool, musical, lots of songs. You got the Otter family. And it really is about, it's almost not even, you could have it take place where it even wasn't Christmas, other than the fact that they're buying each other gifts. Emmett wants to buy his mom something, so, he takes her wash tub and puts a hole in it so he can make a base and they can go in this competition, a talent show, and win money to buy her a dress. She also has the same idea to buy him something, so she hawks his tools. So they both kind of either just take or mess up each other's, stuff so they can buy the other one a gift. They all sing in the contest, Emmett and his jug band, but then you have the Nightmare Band who come into town, who are the bad boys, leather jackets, and they're just kind of mean guys. And the funny thing is at the contest, they win. Okay, the bad guys win the contest. They clearly had the best song. Everybody should at least look up the Nightmare Band song or just watch the whole special. The bad guys win, but yet at the end, it was about the effort of trying to get each other something, and they still had their friends, and they still had their family. So at the end, everything was okay. But, it came out in 1978, and, you can see the strings. It's lots of, puppetry work, and sometimes it's people in costumes. But it's gone on where people have made, like, stage plays out of it. Kermit the Frog hosts it. It's one of my all-time favorite Christmas specials, and anytime I get to introduce that or show that to somebody who's never seen it, it's always a treat for me, and everybody always loves it. So it's just a straight up Christmas classic.
Nice. Now, the reason why I said I had a little story is because I went to Walgreens yesterday, and this kind of ties into one of my favorite Christmas movies. And the cashier was wearing this shirt of my favorite Christmas movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. She was wearing a Christmas Vacation shirt, and and the reason why I kind of laughed about this is because she was old enough. Like, she wasn't, a young cashier, but she was wearing this shirt, and everyone that was in line kept being like, "Oh, I love that movie. Oh, that movie's so good. It's one of my favorite movies." And she was like, "Yeah, I've never seen the movie." She's like, "I'm just wearing this because if we wear a Christmas shirt, we don't have to be in uniform." And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, how could you have never seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? That's like, wow. I was like, I heard it and I was just kind of like, oh my God, really? I was like, I'm pretty sure Walgreens sells the DVD for $5. Do yourself a favor and buy it, watch it. It's so good. But I thought that was funny. I mean, I remember I watched it last year, actually. I watch it every Christmas, and last year actually was the first time I had eggnog. I've never had eggnog before, and eggnog's all right. I'm kind of upset because I really wanted to have some eggnog this year, and I'm not a crazy eggnog drinker. It's not like I'm going to drink a whole gallon by myself. I would just want to have one glass, and that's it. But the problem is no one else in my house drinks eggnog, and I was searching everywhere for one of those little small cartons of eggnog, but every place I went to was either a gallon or half gallon, and I'm like, oh, and it was $4. I'm like, I don't feel like getting it. So they even came out with I found out from my friend John the Retro Bro, they came out with this eggnog called Soy Nog, which is a non-dairy eggnog, which I kind of want to try that.
I get that from my wife because she can't drink milk. So we find her the soy nog. I can't remember if Silk is the the brand that makes it, but it's always in they always have the eggnog, and like you think it'd be near the milk, but at the grocery store I go to, like it's in its own little section. It's just eggnog is kind of cool. I'm not big into it. Like I might have a glass once in a while. It's probably been a few years. I wouldn't mind trying some alcoholic eggnog sometime, which I've never had. But it's kind of cool. The eggnog is one of those things that you only see this time of year. Kind of makes it, a little bit more special, because who would want to drink that like every day? It's too much.
Yeah, I've never met a single person that was like, oh, we're like in the middle of like July, and I'm like, oh, so what did you do last night? Oh, I watched, the basketball game and drank myself a nice glass of eggnog. I'm like, you just don't hear that.
Eggnog and pizza.
Oh,
that would be a good combo.
But it's funny because eggnog to me, when I tried it, it tasted like the consistency was like melted ice cream. That's what it made me feel like. I felt like I was drinking like a glass of like if someone had like a carton of vanilla ice cream and it melted in a complete liquid form, and they're like, oh, let's put this in a glass and sprinkle some nutmeg on it. There you go, kid. But I mean, it's not bad. I like it. But some of my favorite movies, of course, National Lampoons. I mentioned that. But it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day. My favorite Christmas movies are like, some of the most. Someone would debate if they're even Christmas movies. I'm sorry. Of course, Gremlins. That's a Christmas movie.
Dude,
that's totally Christmas.
So a Christmas movie. It's great.
Also, Batman Returns. That takes place during Christmas. And of course, a movie that now people have been really recognizing as a Christmas movie, and that's of course Die Hard. I mean, it's funny. It was like I feel like in the last couple of years, people have embraced it more as a Christmas movie.
It does really become a thing where people are, arguing about it. Like I actually just saw Die Hard like all the way through for the first time a few years ago. Which is probably kind of surprising. That was one of the big action movies even when I was younger. But I just never really got into it. But anytime a movie, takes place, you can, use it as a Christmas movie. I kind of think like The Shining. I'm like, was The Shining a Christmas movie? I'm like, it was snowing. That just kind of makes me think they were there for the winter, right? Like they had to have had Christmas there. It can kind of be what you make it of, and then you have some of your classic ones. Like one I grew up watching with my mom was the Christmas Carol, and there's many versions. Some, like the Mickey Mouse ones. Some like the Alistair Sims version. But I grew up watching the George C. Scott version. He plays a very old gruff, Scrooge. Is very fitting. He's visited, by all the ghosts, but the ghost of the future. At one point, he opens up his, he's a big jolly-looking dude with a beard, and he opens up his cloak, and there's these two, like, weird, famished children under his cloak, which sounds, that sounds kind of gross, but I don't know what they were supposed to represent, but they were so creepy, man. As a kid, I would usually turn away or leave the room, and I watched it a few years ago, and it was still, it was not as scary, like most things as you get older, but it's still kind of gross and creeped me out. But that was the thing with many of these Christmas shows, movies, whether it's, your Rudolphs and Frosties that everybody loves. Back when we grew up, you had to catch them on TV. Mm-hmm. You didn't even really have them on VHS, and it's like you waited for them. It was an event on that night, and you had to sit there and watch them. And, you couldn't even record them, because if you had a VCR back in the 80s, you couldn't program it. It sounds kind of dumb, and there's always the joke about, you can't program a VCR. But no, if you had one of those earlier ones, you couldn't. Nobody could program it. As we went into the 90s, you could, and that was much better. And then as time went on with DVDs, of course, all these specials you could watch any time. And speaking of the Rudolph ones, the Rankin Bass, who made all of those, they had one that came out in 1985. And I heard about this on one podcast I was listening to. They mentioned it. And I couldn't remember. It's called The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. So I found it on Daily Motion, and I would really recommend this one if you like those. Santa was found as a baby in the woods, and there's all these fairies and the Lord of the Forest, and he gives the baby to this lioness to like raise and feed it, and then this fairy is all like wanting him to call her mom, even though the damn lion is the one that raised little Claus. I don't know why the fairy was in there, but there's these weird monsters that kind of look like wild things. I kind of remembered it. It'd been so long, and I don't think it's one they have in, regular rotation as far as the, Year Without a Santa Claus, the Santa Claus is coming to town, the Rudolph. You don't see this one as much, but it was a very cool take. If you want something that, it almost seems like a little bit more like pagan-y Christmas special, really. Just really cool. Like I said, it's not on YouTube, but it is on Daily Motion. So that's just a awesome one. And it's kind of a new one to me, since I haven't seen it in God knows how long. And it's one I'll throw back in the Christmas rotation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I used to always watch... it was one of the Santa Claus movies. It was a live action one. I think it was just called Santa Claus or something. But it was
yeah, from like 86 or something.
Yeah, and it showed like
Dudley Moore.
Yeah, and they were showing how they were like feeding like the reindeers like sparkly gold stuff to make them fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that movie. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was pretty big. Yeah, Santa Claus. It might have been like Santa Claus the movie or just Santa Claus. But I remember Dudley Moore. I think he was an elf. And man, once in a while you'd get one of those, movies that would, just like the Christmas one. I mean, you get a lot more now lately, of course, as you had the Santa Claus movies. I mean, which are not that new, but they keep going, and it seems like you get even more nowadays. Medea's Christmas. That's a classic, right?
Yeah, I think it's funny because with TV networks, I mean, they embrace it so much more now than it was when you were a kid. I mean, you brought up a good point in the fact that if you wanted to watch a Christmas special, you had to turn it on the TV, and you'd go to like one of those like family channels like TBS or something like that, and they'd be showing it. And I mean, I am one of those kind of people that I will probably watch The Christmas Story 3 or 4 times when they're showing it on the 24-hour motion on TBS. Like, that's it's one of those movies that I've watched it so much that I'm like, oh, I don't really care to watch it anymore, but I find myself watching it. It's this, I don't know. There's so many elements to that movie that you can watch snippets of it and be good.
Yeah, so many classic moments. It's a little bit overdoing it to me, man, with the 24 hours. It's like, whoa, I think they kind of killed it for me. It's been a while since I've seen it. A couple of horror ones I would throw out there, too, that I always enjoyed were Christmas Evil, and it's also called You Better Watch Out. You have the Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is about a bad Santa Claus. This Santa Claus is just a little misguided. He gets a little warped, and he's more killing bad guys. I mean, he will leave kids, like bad presents, and he's kind of psychotic, but he's just, he's not really, like a straight-up murderer. So Christmas Evil, and a really cool one, it's an anthology, and I found this one last year. It's on Netflix. It's called A Christmas Horror Story. And you got about 4, short stories all about different holiday things, whether it's a short Krampus story, which there's also, the full-length Krampus, which I just saw, which was pretty fun. You have one where Santa Claus, all his elves turn into zombies, and he has to just kill them all. It's very fun, and it's another one of those ones when I saw it, and I see a lot of other people enjoy it too. That it just it's good fitting, and I love anthologies. Because you get, the 4 shorts and sometimes a little wraparound. So, if you want to just watch a part of it, you can stop it, come back to it later. Black Christmas is another one. Actually, the very first holiday, it in turn kind of brought out Halloween. But Black Christmas was the first one. There was a remake, which I haven't seen, but it's a pretty good old, creepy one about a person that's making phone calls, and, are they in the house or are they not in the house? Kind of at a little sorority house, and, that one's from the earlier 70s, but, that's another good one. So, if you like a little bit of, death and blood in your Christmas, it's like you got it covered,
Yeah, I remember Mikey and I actually saw the remake of Black Christmas in theaters on Christmas, because I think him and we just didn't have a whole lot to do that year, and we were hanging out, and we were like, let's go to a movie, and Black Christmas was playing. I remember we bought like a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts and ate half of them in the parking lot while we were waiting for the movie theater to open. And then like we went and watched it, and that was a lot of fun. That was a really fun Christmas. It was a really cold Christmas that year too, which made it feel even more like Christmas because it doesn't really get cold that much this time of the year.
Yeah, it's something with that little bit of extra cold. It just kind of helps. And I know a lot of people have a tradition of going to the movies. Actually, on Christmas Day, it's a pretty big day, for the movie theater. I'm sure there's a lot of people checking out Star Wars and a whole bunch of stuff. It's just a fun thing to do. I was like, man, it's kind of crazy they're open, but if you get enough business, they're going to do it. So.
Indeed. Now let's go from movies. Let's get into some music. What is probably one of your? And this is probably going to be like a short segment right here because I know a lot of people don't like Christmas music because you hear it all the time right after Halloween now. But if you had to pick your favorite Christmas song, James, what would it be?
As far as the one that always just makes me smile when I hear it, would have to be Christmas Rap. Or it's Christmas Rapping by the Waitresses, who did the I Know What Boys Like song. But it's the one that's just got the Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's that over and over. And see, I have a thing with Christmas music where I kind of like the ones that annoy me. Like I love Christmas rap. I love Paul McCartney Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time.
Oh my God, thank you. I was talking about that the other day to one of my coworkers, and they were like, you don't have a soul if you like that song. I was like, I know it's not a good song, but something about it just puts me in a trance.
It's the weird, like the instruments and the boom boom. It's the sound, and like I said, it's like I don't like it, but I do. It's also the Andy Williams, the Happy Holidays, with the do-si-do and dickory-dock, and don't forget to. I usually throw some profanities in there when I'm singing that. I like to stick dick references in Christmas songs, but we've actually been listening to it at work, and past couple years I wasn't ready for Christmas music, but this one I was like, it's not been that bad. One of my favorite local radio stations around Christmas time, they turn it into full on Christmas. And and another good one too that I really do like is old Jackson 5, the I don't know, the ho ho ho, who wouldn't know, the Up on the Rooftop or something, I think it's called.
Yeah
That one's always a good one. And the good thing about a lot of those, as far as the Christmas rap and the Jacksons, you don't really hear those as much. You're going to hear the Paul McCartney. That one's definitely there. But I mean, it just wouldn't be Christmas without it.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of favorite ones. For me, I feel like it's not Christmas until you hear Mariah Carey's Christmas album at least once. Like that, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Like once you hear that, you're like, all right, it's Christmas time. Even though it's not my favorite Christmas song, that's just one that kind of just sets the bar right there.
Yeah, some people really hate that one. And I was like, maybe it's because they overhear it. I mean, It is a good song, though. It really is. And you don't get too many newer songs that become a Christmas classic. But that's one, even though it is back from the 90s, it definitely has run the test of time, and it'll still be around years from now.
But I think my favorite Christmas songs, I like a lot of the classics, but I like Dominic the Italian Donkey. I like that one. And I like I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. I like that one because you never hear that one.
I heard that one that's funny. I did on my one Christmas station. I did hear that like one time. And I'm not familiar with the Dominic the Donkey song.
Oh, yeah, look it up.
I've probably heard it, and I just don't remember it.
It's about a little Italian donkey that saves Christmas. It's awesome.
There's also a really good Twisted Sister Christmas album.
Oh yeah. They had made like a whole Full Metal Christmas album. I remember they had like Ron Halford like singing Silent Night. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a good album, man. I mean, it really is. It was kind of neat. I remember seeing it at the store. It's like, man, Twisted Sister Christmas. Like I got to get this. And I mean, it's your same songs, I mean, Dee Snider does have a good voice. I mean, he's really, singing them. It's just a little bit heavier. It's one of those things that just kind of makes you smile when you hear a little bit, different version. It's a little bit more upbeat. Maybe if you don't like the normal Christmas music, but you want to hear something, maybe check out the Twisted Sister. It could put you in a little better mood, get you, pumped up and rocking for the holidays.
Indeed. And let's see. Because I'm looking at our time right now. So we talk about some of the music, some of our favorite movies. Let's get into some of our favorite memories. James, what's the memory that really sticks by you when it comes to Christmas?
I can let's see. Well, actually, I have one that was a little bit a newer memory that I always remember. Was a few years ago. A friend of mine, Argyle Goolsby, who's been on the show before from Blitz Kid and the Roving Midnight, he'd come down to our house. He was working up at the tattoo shop with my wife some. And it was around Christmas, and I remember me and him going outside, and we were just kind of talking about how, we just weren't feeling it. It's just like, yeah, Christmas just been kind of like a bummer lately, and we're just kind of bitching about it. And I just got the idea to, get him a gift. So I scrunched around the house, and I have lots of cool stuff around my house, and I kind of just made him a little gift box. And, gave it to him. And we watched Emmett Otter. He was one I got to show that to. He's the same age as me. And he'd never seen it. And I was like, Dad, it's like, you're going to like this. And, it just turned into, going from not really caring about Christmas to having a nice, just little small Christmas that really kind of felt like it was all about. I know for him, it was one of the, better Christmases he had had. I think that kind of helped put him in a little bit better spirit. And, that's one of the ones that just always sticks out. Sometimes it's the little small things. It might not be that, a huge gift you get, but sometimes it's just digging around your house to find something to give somebody else and, make them smile and have a good day.
Indeed. I think some of my favorite Christmases, I mentioned earlier about me and my friend Mikey going to the movie theater and watching Black Christmas. That was really cool. And then one of the things I didn't add in that story that was really awesome that made that Christmas really special was, this was our first Christmas out of high school. We were getting older. I remember Mikey just got his new car, which was a Dodge Neon at the time, so we were able to go anywhere we wanted to go. And we went to Sonic's all the time and stuff. And I remember we did that Christmas. But I remember he got me Misfits 12 Hits from Hell. He gave me that album, and I was like, fuck yes, and I can't even remember what I got him. I got him something cool. I think it was Danzig 3 or something. But, and he gave me the Night of the Living Dead Misfits hoodie, which I still have, and I still wear it. Man, I've had to defend that hoodie so many times from all the previous girlfriends who tried to steal that hoodie. Because, once a girl gets a hoodie, you're not getting it back. So I'd always get whatever girl I was dating at the time, oh, I like this hoodie. I'm like, yeah, you're not wearing it. You're not going to have it because I love it. And so we went to movie theater. I remember that, and I remember also our friend Gabe, Gribble. He burned the Deep Blue Balzac album that hadn't came out to the States yet. It had been in Japan for about a year and a half, and Misfit Records hadn't worked out a deal to release it to the U.S. yet. I remember he sent that to us, so I remember me and Mikey burning 2 CDs of Deep Blue by Balzac and listening to it, going to movie theater, eating a bunch of donuts, and listening to 12 Hits from Hell. It was nice and cold. That's probably one of my favorite recent Christmases that I can remember. I mean, I have plenty of other ones when I was younger, getting, video games for the first time. My grandpa, I've mentioned it numerous times. He's even published in a book by Jeffrey Wittenhagen. When he was he wrote a book, and it had a bunch of various Nintendo memories, and I was featured in it. And I talked about my grandpa introducing me to video games, because my grandpa was a gamer. He had an Atari 2600. He had the Sears ColecoVision, the Sears brand. He had that, and I still have his copy of Missile Command. But he gave me my Nintendo that was bundled with Super Mario Brothers 3, and that just kind of caused the snowball effect of my gaming passion and what I'm doing right now. But that Christmas I had with Mikey, though, was probably one of my favorite Christmases, definitely.
Yeah, it's always good. A funny one for me, I can remember being a kid, and this when the He-Man figures were really big. And I remember we'd gone to the store to get me a He-Man, actually, the He-Man. And I remember going to Service Merchandise, which was just like, it had electronics and toys and, just one of our good fun stores I had as a kid. Best Service Merchandise, kind of like a Sears, something like that. And I went to the toy section, and I remember looking at the rack, and from what I remember, there's about 50 figures, and they were all Ram Man. It was only Ram Man, and it was like a whole wall of just him. And he was okay, but I mean, I had him already, and I wanted He-Man. I remember just being a little disappointed, and I was like, oh, well, he'll show up. I didn't cry about anything like that. I was kind of like, if I got something, I got it. If not, that was how it was. So, of course, Christmas comes around, and I actually get He-Man. I don't know if they took me to the store to see all the Ram Mans as some kind of just, bad joke, or like if that just it happened on its own and they had them already. But, that was a time, too, as toys sometimes now can be kind of hard to find those certain figures. He-Man was the one that was a little bit tougher to get. You could find all his, friends. And, of course, like you said, too, getting the Nintendo at Christmas was always great. I'd got the set with the Zapper, Duck Hunt Mario, because I, got mine a few years before you. And I remember getting TNC Surf Designs. It was like my first game. Yeah, it's
so good.
To some you could go back, and skateboarding was really awesome. And I was really good at the surfing. The skateboarding was so hard to me, and I think the game is some people don't really like it, put it down. I mean, it's not the best, but I mean,
it's so
as a
good.
kid,
I love it.
Yeah, as far as for the skateboarding, everything, that was so fun. And I mean, TMNT 2, the arcade game, just another great Christmas game. And of course, I knew I was getting all these, even TNC. Like, I knew I was getting a Nintendo, so Mom was like, pick out a game. Nobody ever, parents never bought me games, which was, always good. I just had to wait on it. So I got TMNT 2, and I remember my uncle coming by, and he actually played with me. Not too many people in my family really played, the video games with me, and that was cool. My sister played Atari. Me and her played that a lot. But the Nintendo, Mom played Karate Champ one time with me and actually beat me, which I think is hilarious. But my uncle played the TMNT 2 with me, and I remember, going through a level or two, and he did okay. All things considered, he didn't really play games at all. But just that, there was always lots of just fun toys and people coming by, and just always good times.
Indeed. So before we close our Christmas discussion, because we're running a little short on time, what's a Christmas moment or Christmas memory that you kind of just want to, or a message that you want to close our discussion with, James?
Just at the end, I think giving is really better than receiving. It sounds like a little cliche phrase, but to me, it's just always fun, to brighten somebody's day by giving them something. And at the end, getting things too is also not bad. Someone can just get you the right thing, whether it's just funny or something awesome. And this season can be tough for some people, but do what you can. Like I said, maybe listen to some more upbeat music. I think Christmas lights are always nice looking, and just try to appreciate the season for what it is. Don't let any of the greed, and a lot of people are always rushing in such a hurry. They act like Christmas is something they have to do. Make it more something you want to do is the best thing that you can do, and just try to have a good holiday and a good new year. Hopefully, some people had a tough 2017. I hope the new year brings better tidings for everyone that needs it.
Indeed. My message would be James hit it nail on the head with his message, and one of the messages I want to say as well is if you're having some sort of like falling out with somebody, or you're not really getting along with someone during Christmas, keep in mind that, this is a time of the year that it's going to be a memory and something you'll always remember. And, don't try to take a hold too much of the trivial stuff this time of year. Like, it's the season of giving, the season for, like, forgiving and starting anew, If you're not talking to a friend of yours because of some little minor thing that happened that tore you guys apart, just, this time of the year kind of talk to them about it. Maybe, 2018, you guys can work on something new. I mean, life's too short to be extremely trivial about little things. So definitely that's one of the things I love about Christmas is, it's that time of the year that everyone can kind of just make amends, have some good times, and, get ready for the new year. Definitely. But what we're going to do is we're going to get into games we've been playing recently. I'm going to throw it to you, James. What's some games you've been playing?
Most of the things I've played in little short bursts as, work has just been crazy and tired. But I've been on the eShop, as usual. I always got to check it out. And they recently put Pinball Effects 3 up. So that's free, for the initial download, and you get a table. It's got lots of, competitions and things set up you can do online. A lot of tables available, individual and packs. I got to get the Jaws table just because it's Jaws, man. I got to get it. And I have a couple collections on PS4 and some, that I'd gotten on PS3. So I don't really know if I got to see which ones I have. I would like to have, more of these on the Switch. So I might do a couple of the bundles. But, man, I've loved the Pinball Effects tables. I did get just one game that had a demo on the eShop called Heroes of Monkey Tavern. Which is very old first-person, kind of like a wizardry-style RPG. You pick your party going through these very maze-like areas, and the demo it was kind of fun, and it was on sale for $5. They've had a lot of games on sale in the eShop. Unfortunately, most of them I already bought, so it is good just to check out the sale section. But I figured for $5, I was debating it, and I was like, well, if I'm thinking about it this much, I should just drop the $5. I picked up More Fight, which is one I saw RGT did a pretty good review. He really enjoyed it, and it was one I was curious about when I heard about it first coming out. He kind of compared it a lot to a little bit like Metroid Prime games, your first person, checking out new areas for life, scanning things. Hadn't got a chance to play it yet, but like I said, I got a little, just stack of games I need to go through. And then the last one I got, which I did play a little bit of, was a indie game called Unepic.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of looked like a Metroidvania, and it really is. It's kind of got a little bit more. I don't know if I'd put it in like the crappy graphic category. I don't really think it's like that, but you get lots of items and things. That's what made me think of Symphony of the Night. There's so many things when you kill, you find items. The bit I played, I was really digging it. I think it was on sale too. Might have been like $10. It's been out for a few years, I think, on Steam. I think it was just a one developer game. Only one guy made it. I hadn't really got to any boss battles or anything like that, but it seems really cool so far. And I've also, just been watching. I bought for myself for Christmas the Lone Wolf and Cub, or Shogun Assassin movie box set on Blu-ray. It was like all 6 of the original movies, and it's of course got the dubbed over Shogun Assassin version, which combines Lone Wolf and Cub 1 and 2. Really awesome, samurai pushing the baby cart around, cutting off people's heads. It's just a wonderful family movie, and I think too pretty soon I'm going to be playing Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Oh, yeah.
DS. I just opened actually while we're sitting here, I'd opened up the box you'd sent me, which I thought would be kind of funny. And I was like, this has got to be the game you said that was a joke. And I'm actually definitely going to play this because it sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, also I put some of that bubble tea in there because I know.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I figured that, you like some of those, you like drinking like little stuff like I do. And Mikey, like for my birthday, he gave me a box full of like Japanese snacks. And I got like a big bag of the bubble tea. So I'm like, I want to throw a couple packs in there because it's good stuff. You can drink it cold or hot. It's really good.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. I was like, oh man, I love neat things like that. It's always cool trying, other countries' little snacks, because Japan has definitely got some interesting and good stuff,
And of course, the skeleton sitting on the toilet. I just thought that was just funny. But yeah, I think this is going to conclude our episode of Xmas Gaming Podcast. And what I want you guys
I just got to him, actually. Sorry. I heard you say the skeleton. I just picked him up. Dude, that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen, and it's been a great year for XSgaming, and we're going to be coming back when it's 2018. It always feels weird when you're like, "Oh, I'll see you next year." It's only in a couple of weeks, but if you guys are listening to us on Podomatic, be sure to download the app to Podomatic and follow us, and you guys can be notified whenever there's a new episode, which we're going to try to have like 2 episodes a month, like every other week we have a new episode. Also on iTunes, be sure to rate us and leave a review. It really helps the show get found by new ears and new people. It really helps grow. And again, if you're listening to us on YouTube, be sure to hit the bell, because the bell will notify you whenever there's a new episode of XSgaming Podcast or a new video, which I have a couple of reviews coming up. That's why I haven't really been mentioning too much about games I've been playing, because I'm actually about to release some reviews, so I can't really talk about it too much. But follow me on XSgaming Podcast, or I should say youtube.com/Xander Skullion. Anyway, guys, as always, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Gaming, and as always, Happy Holidays.
Have a pleasant Christmas, everyone.